Welcome to Emotion Art.
Emotion Art, where we sit down and make art with our emotions.
Emotion Art.
Creative energy moving outward in conscious expression of feeling.
Emotion Art.
Emotion Art.
Emotion Art.
Emotion because we are literally made of emotion. Art because everything we do wants to be art. Emotion art. Feels.
Emotion Art. It's all beautiful. Emotion Art. Emotion Art.
A space for emotional art. Creative energy moving outward in conscious expression of feeling.
Emotion Art.
An emotion art gallery.
This is Emotion Art.
You're welcome.
I thought for the energy, we need something phallic.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. We need a bigger one.
That one
just hold them both here. There's something to the divine, masculine, feminine stuffs right now. And the reality is, like, we need more men to proudly represent the penis. And, like, I had a conversation last night. I was playing pinball at Blair and was busy as fuck. And this woman gravitated towards me and I was crushing it on Martians. And she's like, oh, wow, you really, can I watch? And I was like, yeah. And so I'm just going at it. And she's like, and me being me, and I just start interviewing her. I'm like, so, like, what are your passions in life? And she's like, well, I'm a therapist. Like, what kind? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, what do you plan on working with? Like, young women. And I was like, oh, okay. Why only women? And she's like, well, because I think women need all this healing. And I was like, I hear that. I would also argue that we live in a patriarchal society, and the reason things are so broken and violent is because the men need the nurturance. And so I would challenge you to think about that. And then I saw her later with she was like with a group of 5 other women that were all like therapists. And I was just like, we need more men proudly doing the same thing that women are doing, because it's like women are finally starting to take back their own power because they've been oppressed for so long. And men are just still so insecure that they can't even look at their own cock and hold it and be like, you're beautiful. And so, yeah, it's like, I want more phallic stuff. I want more things that represent the divine masculine and being proud of that. And like, this is a broken cycle, It's like when men like flaunt the phallicness, women are like, ew. And it's like, you love cock. What are you talking about? Like, there's nothing that can pleasure your vagina more than a cock. I'm sorry, but biology is biology. And like, the more that we pull back from it, like, what are we doing? So yeah, dude, let's proudly show the penis, and like in all the different ways too. And get like a 12-foot suction dildo and stick it on the windshield of my car and drive around with it. Anyway.
There is so much frustration in the world right now. Your words are about the penis and about phallic and the masculine. But what I hear is a marriage of the masculine and the feminine.
Precisely.
Because everything that you're saying resonates with the me that I am now. And it wouldn't have resonated with me before I realized that I get to embrace my feminine and become my feminine. Yeah. And then realizing that that's actually how you change your life and make it go from the pain to the healing.
The healing, yeah. And that's you've seen it. You've seen so many women take charge of their own masculinity. And the men, meanwhile, are just like insecure. And they're like, well, I'll just be more masculine. And like, that way I'm better. And it's like, no, you need to take charge of your feminine. Yeah. And that doesn't look like growing your hair out and you don't have to talk like this. It just means honoring your body and like honoring your emotions and honoring the younger part of yourself that might still be hurt,
Because what the feminine is only applies to one person. In each person, absolutely. The feminine is completely unique. The masculine is completely unique.
Yeah.
And it's in the marriage of both of them. It's not being afraid. I used to be terrified of my body, like you were describing, for my whole life.
Yeah.
I'm not anymore.
So many of my male friends are.
I
don't think I have a single male friend aside from you.
Yeah.
That is I even have gay male friends, and even they are so insecure with their body. And it's like, what is going on?
And with all of these labels, because they're all labels, they're all definitions put on something, constructs. But it's a defining line that's put on something that actually has no defining lines.
True.
The truth is, there is no definition.
Yeah.
You just are you.
Outside of the XYZ or XYZ, the X, well, that's it, right? Yeah. It's like the XY or the XY, XX or XY. I think the reality is we need to move into a future where everybody experiences the X, Y, and Z.
But do we need to? I think we are moving into that future, and I think that we are going at exactly the right pace, and we don't need to do anything. But we are, tell me you're not seeing it in the world all around you, a movement, meeting people like you, meeting people like me, who are saying, I'm not one or the other.
Yeah, it's everything. It's both ends of the spectrum, and the Z is everything in the middle.
And this is just how I represent, because it is the authentic, joyful truth that wants to bubble out of me. So I let it.
Yeah.
And that little dark planet, that closed off planet that I kept hidden and tight because I was afraid that my words were going to hurt everybody, that everything that I did was going to hurt everybody. So I had to hide myself. That, what's the word for it? Nice guy syndrome.
Yeah.
That nice guy,
People
dark
pleasing.
planet. Boy, howdy.
Yeah.
Once
It's actually a star.
Once that,
that's what you were telling
it's
me.
literally a star.
Yeah, it's not
And
a
once
dead
it
planet.
cracks open,
It's a star.
and there's nothing ugly in there.
Mm-mm.
I was just afraid there was.
Yeah.
It's all beautiful.
And yeah, it's like even what is ugly, right? What is ugly? Is it something that's disgusting? Well, what's disgusting? What would you? Is it poop? Why is poop disgusting? That's food broken down. You should look at your own poop. When you poop, you should look at the toilet and go, "Oh, I need to work on eating less cheese, or I need to drink less beer, or I need to drink more water." If you pee, it's like examining yourself.
It is part
body,
of what
mind,
is.
and spirit.
Don't be afraid of what is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like that. One of the things that you challenged me with last time was the whole like negative perspective thing. And it's the same thing of saying like people need to do this or people need to do that. It's like, stepping back even further from lack of negativity for one. But even if I'm like, I know this thing is going to positively impact the world, still not being like, people need to do this, and it's like the world is growing. And as people do this more, we will continue to raise the vibration of this planet and this life force that we are so blessed to be a part of.
I'm practicing that language so much right now. That's why I have the presence to think of it, to say it.
Yeah.
Because I need to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing that needs to be done.
Yeah.
There is no emergency. There's only definitions, layers and eons of definitions put on something that is indefinable. Yeah. So we're free to be who we want to be. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, Rye,
who am I?
Who are you?
Who am I? Who am I? So I just did an energy work with Stevie, and this was the message at the very end that I came to, which is, and I am a rye dragonfly, and I will fly high for you and I. And that was the message that came to me as I was looking at the sun. And we were looking at the sun through the trees, and like Stevie saw it too. I was like, come stand right where I'm standing. And I squinted my eyes and I saw a dragonfly. And it was these beautiful wings coming out in this long stem. And I was like, what the fuck? And she was like, what the fuck? And then I was like, now open your eyes wide. And it went from the dragonfly to this like spider web that was like, you could see the radiation of the sun pulling in on it. And it was just like, wow. So yeah, my civilian name is Ryan Douglas Uhle. I am from the swamps of Tampa, Florida. I was born and raised there in December 11th, 1994. And I am a leader of love. I am a movement facilitator, and I am here for you and I. Blah, blah, blah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Since you so satisfyingly answered the question, who are you? Briefly, what do you do?
I do a lot of things. What do I do for...
Like, what are you most proud of?
I'm a leader of love. And I think what a true leader of love is someone who leads by example of love. And so I don't mean that in this kingly or narcissistic or egoic sense. I mean that as a true leader of love is someone who inspires or empowers or facilitates other people to become their own leader of love. And so one of the things that I do, I've been a certified personal trainer for over 15 years now. That practice has now come to this point of realizing that, we have this disease or this crisis or this energy in this world that could use some guidance with mind, body, and spiritual connection. And the more that people learn how to first love themselves, the more that they can then externalize that love into the world. And so that's the number one thing I'm most proud of in my life is my whole life. I have always been the person to people please and, put myself last. But now it's at a point where it's different, where I set boundaries when I need to. I tell people the honest truth. And I praise people in the ways that our parents might not have, or the way that our friends could be doing more, or that we all benefit from. And, when you, like even just earlier with your boys, hanging out and like they were on the trampoline and just being like, yo, that was hot, and motivating people, and then being like, it'd be really cool, try this. And then like gave them a flow prop And then they took that
Oh
flow prop,
my
and then they went on the
goodness.
trampoline, and then they literally just invented trampoline backflip flow props.
Yeah.
And they were like spinning them, doing backflips, and then like trying to like throw them and catch them. And it's like, they just did it, you know? And like, it was interesting because Boston was sitting on the tramp and like, was kind of like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, you got this, here, try this. And I just like walked up and handed it to him, you know? And it's one of the biggest things that being a leader of love is to me is like, I consider myself a druid, and like this very ethereal, magical sense, but the literal sense of a druid is just someone who creates the space and holds the space. And yeah, I can shift forms a lot to do that, and I do. And I'm a chameleon by nature, and like I played World of Warcraft for like 12 years, and I loved the druid because you could change from being a bear and being the tank and keeping everyone safe to turning into a cat and like doing a bunch of damage, or you could turn into a healer, which was the form of a tree. And like that metaphysical multidimensionality is my life now, you know, and my you know, my entity that I run my own business in back at home is called MDT, and stands for multidimensional training. And that name came to me 11 years ago on a sunrise psilocybin journey by myself in Florida. And like, yeah, like so much of all that leading with love is just creating the space, providing the tools, and then just protecting the space. And that's it. And then people can then discover themselves and grow. And we all have something so magical within us. And it's like, sometimes all you need is just a little bit of that. And like, so that's the one thing I'm most proud of.
Okay. Do you, have you read the book No More Mr. Nice Guy? Okay.
My friend Chad has. He's talked to me about it though.
Please read it. You've walked the path that the book leads you on already, but the language that this guy uses is so helpful. I'm understanding how to talk to other nice guys.
Yeah.
Because do you see yourself as having been a nice guy?
I still see myself struggling with being a nice guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a journey that you've had to walk, dude. This book is incredible for the people who are nice guys.
Yeah.
And I think that if you are one, you probably know what I'm talking about. But the question is, what made you turn course? What made you look at it? What made you realize that you had a different life to live? What happened?
You know, I've been on this journey for quite some time. And really what happened, it all started with back in Florida. I went to a festival and tried some mushrooms and tried some MDMA. And
like for the first time type stuff?
Well, the mushrooms, yeah. For the first time I ever, I ate a tiny bit of mushrooms when I was younger.
Okay, so just pause that story for a second.
Yeah.
What was the envelope that you grew up in?
So I grew up in, it's a pretty interesting story if we want to go back a little bit further.
Just a breeze over.
Just a real breeze over.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in at first a very privileged home, but for like 3 years. You know, I grew up in my mind, this big old house, right? My parents were together and married, and you know, something traumatic happened to me. And then very shortly after, like within a year after, my parents got divorced. And within a year after that, I developed Tourette's. So the next like couple years were a little murky, but basically my parents, so my dad and mom were married, and then they had these friends in college named Tim and Kimberly, and they were also married, and they all got divorced at the same time and then remarried each other.
Wow.
So I went from having 2 parents to then all of a sudden having 4 parents. And then later on found out that my stepmom was previously married to my stepfather.
Wow.
Yeah. So my dad worked his ass off and was all concerned with money and that, you know. And so we went from this house to just another nice house in like an upper middle class suburban neighborhood. My mom and my stepfather were poor. You know, they were struggling. My mom was an occupational therapist, but wasn't making really good money. So we lived in an apartment, in a 2-bedroom apartment where I stayed with my 2 other brothers, and we were all crammed in this teeny little room. And so right off the bat, I went from like, oh, look at this house, to like, wait, what? Now I'm living in like this like shithole and this really nice house. It was just so confusing. And so that's kind of like my upbringing, the envelope that I grew in. So a lot of white privilege, of course.
But
but the paradox of, and one house was like very wealthy, but neglectful and abusive. Both parents were, my dad was physically and verbally and emotionally and neglectfully abusive. And my stepmother was just very manipulative, unfortunately. Like, I hate to, you know, they both have a lot of love, but she has a PhD in psychology and she knew what she was doing. She basically like to my father so that she didn't have to work. And the second they got married, she stopped her practice and hasn't worked since. And so I grew up in these dualities of like, this house was all about, you know, money and greed and neglect. And like to the point where like the downstairs of my dad's house was beautiful. He was constantly improving the house and putting in new floors or putting in granite countertops. But the upstairs where my brothers and I lived was it was just nothing on the walls, white walls, It was disgusting up there. He never went upstairs. And it was just like, what? And then my mom's house was cozy and warm and safe. And my parents, I consider Timothy, my stepfather, I consider him my father. And my mother, her name is Amy. Yeah, their values were all about honesty, love, and respect. And truth comes with honesty, you know? And so it was such a duality of nature. And like the reason my life is a paradox and I feel like this fucking hourglass that's constantly spinning is because of that. And so that kind of is like a big precursor for, you know, where I'm at now in terms of the envelope I grew in.
Can you like spread that out a little bit? Truth comes with honesty.
Honesty comes with truth. Truth comes with honesty. Yeah. Because if you're vulnerable and transparent and honest, that means you are speaking the truth. And we live in a world where people are lying to themselves. And if you're lying to yourself about anything, then you're lying to the world around you. And that's my biggest thing of empowering people is like, you know, one of the things people say to me a lot, or at least my parents have, is you're always thinking about the past. You're always stuck in the past. And I'm like, no, I'm not. It's because every time I bring up the past, you're afraid of it. And so you respond with, stop bringing up the past. And it's like, I have sorted through all of my past. You know, fast forward a little bit, when I was 17, I moved out with this 26-year-old woman. And we went to a festival and tried these medicines for the first real time. It was like a 3-gram dose of psilocybin, and then it was like a 100 milligram dose of MDMA. 2 separate nights, right?
Candy flip.
Oh my God. If together, that'd be great. But there was 2 separate nights.
Oh, gotcha.
So
okay.
one night, but it was so cool though, because I got to see Spangle in person. I got to see Excision and Downsync, which was like my favorite dubstep. And that was with like the mushrooms. And then I got to see Spangle with the MDMA, and it was just like, what? So we got home and this guy gave us these Tootsie Rolls. And they had crystals of the gods in it, which is a concentrated form of psilocybin broken down with like pure ethanol. Okay. And basically he said each Tootsie Roll was approximately 3.5 to 4 grams of mushrooms. Okay. So before we left, he was like, here, and just gave us like 3 more. And so when I got back home, like 2 weeks later, I was like, I need to dive in. And so I had my partner, my girlfriend at the time, Amanda, she facilitated just holding down the space. We lived in an apartment, and I was so ballsy back then that I was like, let's fucking go. I ate both of them suckers. And I had like what felt, it was probably like an 8 to 10 gram trip. And the thing with concentrated psilocybin is it comes on immediately, and it's so much more powerful. It's kind of like, you know, it's like hitting a vape pen versus like smoking a spliff. You know, it's very like, you know, and so in that experience, I was able to transport to another realm and experience hundreds and hundreds of years of experience, and came back, and I remember like laying down, like crying and like moaning, and then it was coming up, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can feel the connection to all the molecules in my body. And I looked at Amanda, I was like, I'm gonna die. And she's like, you're fine, relax, here's some weed. And I took a dab of you know, THC oil, and it just boom, and I laid back and just and she said I was in bed for like 2.5 hours just rolling around and making noise and moaning and crying and all the stuff. And like when I finally came to, she was in front of me with another dab, and I just went right back in there. And then I finally came to like an hour and a half later, and I just stood up and I was like, oh my gosh, time is an illusion. And this life is just like, you know, you die and then you open your eyes in another life. And like, and then I literally like went to the bathroom, and then I was like, I'm ready to go back in. And I like laid back down and went, and like, so that night when I finally went to sleep, I had a dream, Michael, of reliving the memory of being molested when I was 3.5 years old by my 16-year-old male babysitter. And I was just like, what the fuck? That was not a dream. That was a memory. And I just sat on it. And I told Amanda, and she was like, I don't know what to do about that. And I was like, I have to do something with this. So I was immediately like, all right, I was a personal trainer back then. I was like, all right, I want to grow mushrooms. I want to learn more. So I went down the rabbit hole of learning about Terence McKenna, like the teachings of Terence McKenna and Alan Watts and various philosophers in these realms, and grew mushrooms and explored. And I did laboratory experiments. And, you know, I would like document this shit the way I was taught. And I read all of his books and listened to all his lectures from Terence McKenna. And like, I'd go get to a spot in the middle of the forest in Florida, which was very hard to find a space that you could do that. There was only one place, and it was like this horse equestrian trail. And I pulled it up on Google Maps, and I was like, okay, that's the one spot that's like furthest from all the paths. That's the spot. And I went out there before the sunrise, and I would like 3.5 grams of Cambodia psilocybin. Okay. And then I would write what I expressed or felt during the experience as the sun rose and went through. And then I would journal afterward. And like, that was how I did my science, like for 1.5 years. And through that process, I was like, all right, I was smoking weed. I was like, I got to move somewhere where weed is legal, because that means that if they're legalizing weed, that means that they're probably going to be open to legalizing psilocybin. And then I started doing research about where to move. And we just decided to move back in with our parents and save up for a year and then move out of Florida. And so that's what we did. And we ended up like 4 or 5 months in, I came across an article that was like, Eugene is the hippie capital of the world. And I was like, no shit. So I looked it up more and, learned a bit about the history of Oregon, but not the KKK part. And then learning that like azuricans, like the most potent mushroom known on the planet currently, grows on the coast here in Oregon, and like all these things. And I was like, okay, Washington, Colorado, these other states are like legalizing it, but I have this feeling about Oregon, and it's beautiful. And like I grew up and I visited North Carolina a few times, and I just fell in love with this line of latitude. And so sure as shit, I had a conversation with my family at dinner like 2 weeks before I left, and I was like, y'all, I'm telling you, Oregon will be the first state to legalize psilocybin. They're like, it will never be legal, Ryan. You're fucking dumb. And we still support you, but we don't think it's a smart idea for you to just up and leave. And I had nothing planned. I was like, we're just going to save it for a year. We're going to find a place. And then we're going to move out there and give ourselves a buffer so we can find jobs. And that's what I did. And unfortunately, we came here and I just fucked off. But it wasn't until 2 years after moving here that I met someone, and they were like, I told them this story, and they were like, did you ever ask your mom if that actually happened? And I was like, and I just felt like such anxiety for the first time in my life. And I was like, whoa. And, I have Tourette's. And so growing up, I had so much over electricity, but that was like a different type of feel. And so one day, sure as shit, called my mom, and I was like, hey mom, I got a question for you. Was I molested when I was younger? And she just like broke down in tears. It was just like, I'm so sorry, Ryan. Like I don't even know how you know this, but like, yes, you were. And like, we didn't know what to do. We did our best. And I was just like, hey, it's okay. I'm not upset. I love you. Like I just wanted to know. And then I just hung up the phone. And then like within a few days had like my first ever panic attack and called an ambulance because I thought my heart was stopping, and like at the time, the person I was with was like a strong lesbian doctor of romance languages, right? And so this woman was hypothetically involved in a underground radical environmental activist group. And so basically I was getting pulled into this cult at the same time. And the cult, known as DGR, Deep Green Resistance, their philosophy is that civilization is no longer sustainable, and the only way that we stop this train from hitting the wall is to push it off the tracks before it gets to the wall, because for some reason that's better.
But you had a lot of anger that resonated with some parts of it.
Yeah, and then also a lot of anger that resonated against that. And I was like, that's not the way. The way is love and play and peace, not monkey wrenching and making society collapse, because then it's gonna get more violent. I'd rather have the world end with a big old bang than people killing each other slowly over hundreds of years, And so it's been a journey of just struggling and surviving, and it hasn't been until the last 2 years of my life when this other insane thing that I experienced and I'm still going through to this day happened, that finally kicked me and went, you need to explore your feminine side, because I think that the world sees me as this masculine, violent man. And though I'm not violent, I'm handsome and I'm strong and I'm powerful. And that scares people when they've been hurt by men that fit that same MO, whether they're attractive or not. Men are powerful. We are bigger than female-bodied people. And so I explored my feminine too hard. And I was being inauthentic to myself. And like, I don't know if you remember, I think you might have seen me like a couple of years ago, and I was all like makeup and I looked like a fucking cult leader, It was, I'm they, them. And it's like, stop focusing on what other people see you as. Focus on how you want to express yourself. And this is me. Like, I wear the crops here and there, but I dress in different characters every day. Like sometimes I look like I just got done at the lumber mill. Yesterday I was dressed up as if I was like just got out of the military, and so it's so interesting how that catapulted things. And I finally, to answer your full question, within the last 3 months of my life, 3 months, have I finally been like, I'm finally being me. And actually, even that has been compressed until like so recently as like 3 weeks ago, because I met this woman, this incredible woman, and it changed my whole perspective on things. And I was like, oh my God, love isn't hard. It's actually really easy. All you have to do is stay committed, and you have to work hard. So yeah, working hard is part of love. But if you do that, then love is easy. And if you stay committed to that, then it's a given.
What's the work hard part?
The work hard part is literally working hard, whether it's doing chores in the house or whatever you have to do to provide for your family, or stepping up to injustices and not being a coward to yourself first and to the world around you. For instance, this woman, she went down to visit her family, her parents, which are in their 70s, on her birthday. And her dad had a hernia on her birthday. And without any hesitation, she just kicked into like support mode. It was like, this day is not about me. This is about taking care of my dad. And she sent me a video of this giant pile of wood, like almost the size of this room almost. And she's like, well, I'm going to help my dad chop this wood. She called me like 4 hours later and was like, all done. She's like sweating. I was like, this is the hottest thing I've ever seen a woman share with me. Thank you. And like when we first met, I went up to her house on the coast. And her friend was having a birthday party, and it was like a mini festival. It was crazy. There was like a mixture of alcohol, cannabis, tobacco, mushrooms, MDMA, and ketamine. All like, not all at once, but like,
yeah.
And there was like almost 100 people there. But I got to see her be her authentic, vulnerable self. And that to me is also hard work. Working hard doesn't just mean chopping wood. It means doing this work. And that way you can do work for others. And so, yeah.
So, okay. So I got to chase this down a little bit because you're like, love is easy. You have to work hard. And then in your description of working hard, you're talking about chopping wood. And so what does chopping wood have to do with love? Well, does it feel similar to say, love is easy, but you have to work on yourself?
Yeah. And that you're right. And so it's more of like, love is easy if you've done the hard work first. If
you are doing the hard work, then there is nothing required of you because you are going to attract people who are doing the hard work.
Correct.
And that a relationship without expectation, without rules, without boundaries, that's where love is easy.
Yes.
And I've only just recently found that type of relationship. I mean, Angela and I had very much a corporate, America style give and take relationship where everyone has their roles and their commitment.
Work having been done.
I felt that there was something different. I could feel what it felt like, but I had no idea what it looked like, and I had no idea how to get there. But I would say, your timeline feels real similar to mine. Like it's literally like I'm there, but I'm also just stepping into it.
It's Michael. Like this is all meant to be exactly on the timeline it is. Everything is just lining up the way it was intended to. And it's like. I had this moment recently and this man walked up and was like, yeah, this is one of those cosmic moments where like you made this meeting, your past self made this meeting, but you forgot about it, and like it's already been on your calendar for this long period of time and you never thought it was going to come, but it was already meant to be, it was like, we met like 3 years ago in the desert and I had a threesome with your ex-partner and my ex-partner who took me to court and lied about me. And like, here we are now. And it's like, even back then, I was so different and like, I was so not who I am now. And the insecurities, like, especially like seeing y'all's dynamic and just being like, there's 3 of you and you have kids together. Wait, what? That's a thing. I always thought that it could be really cool. Like, what? And like, so
nobody wants to kill anybody.
It's one of those things where when you haven't done the work yet, there's resistance, and I felt there was a little bit of resistance before with us. And like, and I was always like, I think Michael's cool, but like, I don't know, maybe he doesn't like me or like maybe, And so it's like, we literally, I feel like we really have a lot of parallels, especially the last time we talked.
But that's how I saw other men too.
Crown. Yeah.
That's a nice guy symptom.
Totally.
You always feel like other men don't like you.
It's like usually the nice guy symptoms are that. And then the reality is a lot of men end up actually becoming close friends with men that they're actually like attracted to and like potentially an underlying,
because they have a war inside between their masculine and feminine and don't even realize that both of them live in there together.
Yeah.
So how could stuff not get really confusing?
Without the work having been done, what happens is you tend to oscillate. You tend to oscillate. There's like I believe in a lot of the nostalgia novelty wave that Terrence McKenna describes, and whether it's life and death or moving towards the future or returning to the archaic ways. Like when we find relationships, whether it's a friendship or an intimate friendship or a romantic relationship or whatever, we tend to gravitate, if the work's not done, towards someone that pulls us forward, that we're attracted to because we think they're better than us in some way. Or It's the opposite. And we spend time with people that we feel better than. And that's
because
not
then we
healthy.
can blame all of the problems on this person who we are helping.
Yep. And so
Dude,
those always blow up.
Seriously, no more Mr. Nice Guy.
No, and that's
Everyone needs to read
I was
this
telling
book.
Bonnie, I was driving here.
I wish I remembered who wrote it.
I forget. I can also look at the camera.
I know, right?
Okay, let's
Sup, guys?
add some more of the.
Okay,
That's so cool.
Here's something
Yeah.
though. I feel like everybody that listens to these conversations is in the room with us. So I feel like what I should be doing is I should be talking to just like you would talk in a group.
We literally put a head of a person there, so that way you're like, blah, 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 blah. I want to put like a dragon head on that.
Yeah, because they are in the room with us.
Yeah,
and we appreciate them.
Yeah, so I did this thing on the way here. Hilarious, right? I'm done standing up to bullies and injustice. And actually, one of the big breakthroughs that I had 2 days ago was I finally said my full expression of psychedelic peace with my father, the one that abused me. And I've been trying to have a conversation with him for years. And he's always promised to help me buy a house and buy a car and just never follows through when I ask. And he's like, you got to get a real job. I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? Like, I pay bills that are close to $2,600 a month, and you say I can't afford a house. My dad's very wealthy.
Yeah.
He lives in a $6 million house, in which today's age is a lot of money. He owns one of the largest whiskey clubs in the country, which is worth probably $20+ million. And he hasn't given me a penny. 2 years ago, when I almost killed myself, he was like, I'll help you pay your rent for like 5 months, but made me feel so guilty for it that I literally stopped asking and fell back into a hole because of the trauma. And so with him, I finally was like 3 months ago, I was like, look, I really want to have a conversation with you. And it's about our connection, father to son. I'm like, when can we do that? Well, maybe next week. And then I kept checking. I mean, literally 30, 40 times I attempted over 3 months to make this happen. And he just kept dragging his feet. So I finally called him last week after we had that thing. And I was like, Dad, I love you. And clearly it seems like you are running from this conversation. So I don't know if I have to buy a plane ticket for you and fly you out here, but I feel the need for this to happen, so how do we make this happen? And he was like, well, I told you, and like, because literally he was like, oh, I'll call you on Thursday. And I was like, no, you're not. And so I was like, well, he was like, well, you didn't, you never called me on Thursday. I was like, no, that's because you told me you were going to call me. And like, this is what you keep doing. Read the text. I'm looking at it right now. You said, and he was like, no, you read the text. And I was like, Rick, you are the parent here. Stop this. I was like, your son is trying to have a conversation with you. If you don't want to have this conversation, just tell me so I can move on and let go of this pain, because you have constantly offered your support and your guidance and your knowledge and financial support, and you've not given any of it. And my fear is that you're going to die before I get to learn those things from you. I don't want your fucking money. I want you to teach me what you learned in life. That's all what parents are for. They're not to make life easy for your kids. Otherwise, your kids aren't going to learn how to work hard and stay committed. It's about facilitating an environment for growth. And so, again, it blew up. And so, like, I hung up the phone on him because he was like starting to like basically raise his voice, and I was like, not doing it if you're going to be violent. And then my stepmom texted me, because I basically called him earlier that day because I had a heart issue, or I had a panic attack. And I was like, hey, I'm doing a lot of research. Like, do you have any heart disease or medication that you're on for mental health? He was like, no. And I was like, cool. He was like, that's it? And I was like, that's it. Bye. And I hung up the phone. My stepmom texted me, Kimberly, and was like, do you want to talk? And I said, not to you. Fuck off. Which I've never said anything like that to her ever, but I was pissed because she always intervenes in a conversation that's between me and my father. And so,
and your solar plexus is opening, and so that voice is going to come out.
Oh yeah.
Well, so, that's the power from there.
Oh yeah. This is where that was a week ago, right? So this is where everything, and that's why in this last week, Michael, I'm like, I'm finally whole. And when we finished this session with Stevie, I walked out and she was like, what's the thing that's coming? And I said, I'm whole. And then I said, and I, a rye dragonfly, will fly high for you and I. Because awry is a word that means deviating off the path of normality. And so that is what I am. I am a multidimensional dragonfly. And so back to this real quick. So here's what happened. My stepmom texted me that. And I was like, not to you. So she went behind my back, like she always has done, and texted my other parents and said, do you know what's wrong with Rye? And I was like, okay, she's a psychologist. That's gaslighting. That is a strategy of going around someone's back, maybe gaslighting, but it's like in my brain, it's like there's this weird level.
It's icky. It's just
yeah, you're right.
icky.
Let's not use words like gaslighting or
it's
this.
Not
or
gaslighting.
That. Let's just say it felt icky because it was.
We gaslight ourselves mostly.
True. Yes, and that's my big thing. Is
but that's gossip. It's called gossip, and it's just like talk to the person Just talk to the person you have a problem with. If you can't do that, then wait until you have the words.
Wait. Yeah.
And by the way, Rick, read No More Mr. Nice Guy. It will change your life. I promise.
Yeah. There you go.
So, okay. But now I have to ask you a question.
Yeah.
If he was now sitting here in your chair, sharing his perspective of it, what does this feel like to him?
You know, that's a really hard question to answer because I haven't known him for so long.
Yeah.
The memories I have of my father are before the economy crashed in like 2006.
Yeah.
And what happened is he was managing so much for us so that he could give us those jet skis and those Porsches and pay for our $300,000 of college because we all wanted to be like a doctor or this or that.
Because that's what nice guys think their job is.
Yeah. And then it all blew up in his face. And then he struggled for years and years. And that was about the same time that my half sister was born. So it was a fucking mess and basically turned entirely neglectful. And that's when the things really started. He went from being this fun guy to like screaming and chasing us up the stairs and smacking us on the ass so hard he'd leave bruises for like days. And I was terrorized by it. I was terrified of my father. And because of that, I've held it. And so, you know, I think if he was sitting here, I don't think he could even sit here and have a conversation like this. He would just be like, I don't want to do this. It's a waste of time. He would just refuse because he's got too much stuff going on. And it's like you live in this mansion and you pay people thousands of dollars to work on your landscaping. He's got millions of dollars worth of plants in his backyard butting up to his private deck on a private lake, right? And so these landscapers come to the house like once a week or so and they work their asses off on his house. And then he'll send messages to the family group chat, which I'm no longer part of because it was just negative, and be like, these fucking idiots did a terrible job. Look at this shit. Look at that shit. It's like, what are you doing? You know, and like,
but he speaks about other people like that because that's actually
he's
how
a fox and he screams at the TV.
It's actually how he feels about himself.
Correct. That's exactly it.
And he's afraid. That's why.
Which is why when I've been having these moments, I was like, Dad, I love you.
Yep.
And like, this is the conversation to be had. We haven't had at this point, but it's more of like, if you don't change something in your life, you're going to die soon. Or you're going to die in hell because you're going to be so miserable that you haven't faced and created love for yourself. Because you don't need to provide. You don't need to die and leave a bunch of money behind for your children for them to love you. All you got to do is give them attention and facilitate the environment for them to grow and be seen. That's it. They'll do the rest.
And the question is, are you doing what you want to be doing?
Me? Absolutely.
To him, to all of us. But
Yeah.
I'm saying the question to him is, is this really the life you want? Is that what you have?
And that was the big riff.
That's the question I asked myself because I was becoming that dad.
Yeah.
I was somebody that my kids were terrified of. And we went through a period of time where none of them would talk to me at all.
Yeah.
And I had to sit in that knowing that there's no other way it could possibly be. Of course, this is how children that were treated the way I treated them. Because, well, who cares why? Who cares? It's what was. It's what was.
Yeah.
Part of what is.
And now, what's your outlook on how you choose to treat your children?
Now all I care to do is show my children what it looks like for a broken man to become love.
That's fucking beautiful. That is back to what honesty is. It's vulnerability and it's being honest. And that's literally what the conversation is about. It's like, you know, I just want you to acknowledge these things you did in the past. I want you to sit with me and just have a moment so that I can then forgive you and move forward. But if you keep just not acknowledging these things or moving forward, then it stays the same, you know? And like for your kids to see you be vulnerable is the most powerful thing for them to grow into their divine masculine.
Gaslighting is powerful. It's not possible to see the thing that needs to be fixed until the gaslighting of oneself comes to a halt. Yeah. And that usually takes a lot of pain.
Yeah, it does. I did some
which
crazy
people like
shit.
us go find, seek it out. Once we start feeling that pain and realize what it means and what it will work in us, that's why we go and start doing heroic doses of mushrooms. And just like, I need to meet myself. That darkness in there is not darkness.
Yeah.
I've got to meet it. Yeah. And I don't know how to because I've lost touch with myself. I've never been in my body before. You strike me as someone who's very embodied.
Absolutely.
Like long since.
That's been in the last 2 years because I've been trying, but I've been doing a lot of ceremony with myself.
Okay. Watching you is like in a Hayao Miyazaki movie where like that rare like stag with the horns and then the beam of sunlight is on it.
That's how I view myself, honestly.
That's what it looks like because you are very graceful. You have honed your reflexes and your physical instincts so much, but you're embodied. you're all the way there. You own your body and it is just you. And so there's like this raw wildness that is just like laced in with the incredible grace. It is beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the paradox, right? Especially as male-bodied creatures, we are powerful beyond measure, and we are also so incredibly beautiful.
Yes.
And so are female-bodied people, and it's these things, you know. And so,
Bodies are beautiful when they are owned, when they are fully possessed by their wearer.
Yeah. And the way to do that is shaking off the shit that's holding you down.
Start by reading No More Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah, I'm still reading that other book that you gave.
You know Joseph Adler. So he was a philosopher. He was a psychiatrist, I guess. But the book about his philosophy is The Courage to be Disliked.
Yeah.
And the Courage to be Happy.
Yep.
It's all about how the cause of all human suffering is top-down relationships. All relationships are vertical.
Yeah.
And that's why humans are hurting.
But they need to be this way.
If horizontal relationships cure human suffering.
Yeah. And I would almost even argue I'm so obsessed with the XYZ plane, you know. It's like maybe that's even more linear. You know, it's like what if it was like a combination of the XYZ plane? So it looked like a figure 8 that goes up and down and through. Because like
that's a manifold,
you know, and then that's like turning in space.
Yeah,
it's like,
but that's literally what it is.
It's just a line that flows, you know, and it's like there's no hierarchy to it. It's just even, and it's all like through physics is perfectly balanced in all planes of motion.
But we're these little 3-dimensional creatures.
Yeah,
that are
like,
talking
square
about
means the fucking square
other dimension, and it's like, and it's also everything else and nothing.
Yeah. So to real quick wrap up that story with my father,
yes.
The big breakthrough that I had was my stepmother reached out to my other parents and was like, do you know what's wrong with Ryan? And I was like, what do you mean? There's nothing wrong with me. I asked my dad a simple question and then you got in my personal business and I said, no, this is between me and my dad. So I just like reached out to her. I was like, look, you can't keep going over my head like this. Like this is a conversation between me and my father. Right. And then she said this thing and like, I basically said some shit to both of them, some truth. You know, I was like, what would your parents think of this? And they both were like, because their parents are both dead, all of them.
Yeah.
And they were neglected by their parents. Yeah. And know that. And like,
of course.
And so Kimberly reached out one more time and was like, keep me updated, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, Kimberly, you're the parent. You need to respect my boundaries, and I will not be sharing my personal or health information with you because I don't trust you. But this is not even between you and me. This is just between me and my father, and you keep getting in the way because you don't want him to support me because then he's going to lose attention for you. And you know that me and my dad are so similar that when we finally fix this, which it will, come back to love. That's why I'm fighting so hard for it. I'm not doing this to be an asshole. It doesn't matter how fucked up your parents are. You still need to love them until you need to fight because they created you. And so with this, I was like, you know what, Dad? I love you. And time is precious. And so they still ignore me. So, and like Kimberly sent that text and I was like, fuck this. So I took screenshots of it and I posted it in the family group thread. And I went, this family has got to grow its emotional intelligence and transparency will be our teacher. And I know I have a lot to work on with myself. And that is what I responded with. And I'm also doing the work with my mother and my stepfather in the same way of like, I love you. I'm providing a healing space for my parents. And on this side, I'm doing it with nurturance because that's what they need. They need me to go, I love you and I care about you. And I think if you went to see a therapist, you could get off these medications. You can get off the Adderall. You can get off the Zoloft. And then with my father and my stepmom, they need harshness. They need to be they're so fucking privileged. They need someone to be like, you're acting like a child and you're being a bad parent and your parents would be disappointed in you. And I don't know how long it's going to take, but I know I've done it. They're going to come back to me because at this point, now my plan with them, I've fully moved on and so much of my life is going so incredibly well that all I got to do is just stay with it and continue nurturing my relationships with these people and know that everyone else that is still sucked into the violence, they'll see me. They'll see how successful I become and continue to become. And same with you. And then they will gravitate back to that. And you know how I'll meet that? I'll say, I forgive you and I love you. But let me guide you. And then you can find your way. It's different for everyone. But at the same time, it's fucking the same for everyone. All you got to do is love yourself first. And you got to do that by connecting your mind to your body. And then your spirit starts to do this. And then you go, oh, I want to share this with someone. And then you start volunteering, or you start doing stuff in your community. You start doing stuff for the world without asking for anything in return. And when the universe sees that, it rewards you, and that's it. And like my relationships with friends that talk about money all the time, I've pulled back from. I only want to spend time with people nowadays that want to create for the benefit of others. And I think that's what love is. It's not about owning someone. It's about doing whatever needs to be done that's going to only benefit their growth as a person. That's it.
How can you know what will benefit another person?
You don't.
So you can only do what will benefit your growth.
You can only think you know if you know them long enough. But even then, the reality is, if you see someone getting beat up in the street and you just walk away, you're a fucking coward. I don't care what you have to do. You need to intervene. And so it's the same with this. No one else is going to intervene for my father or my stepmother. No one else is going to do it for my stepfather or my mother. I'm the only one who will do it. My brothers won't do it. No one else in their life will do it. So I need to be the parent now, and I need to step up, and I need to know what's best for them. It's not about forcing them to do something. It's about, okay, I've known them. I think I know them well enough, and I feel confident enough as a healing facilitator to know what might work best. And if it doesn't, then I've tried at least, and I have tried over the years, and it's not been the right thing, but it's finally stuck. Power. And so these people that are refusing to face the truth of reality, they're going to die of cancer. They're going to die of these diseases because their body is literally at war with itself. And if you don't wake up and start loving yourself, you're going to die before your body is intended to. And what's probably going to happen, and this is where I think the whole heaven or hell situation comes, is when you accept these things and you heal the trauma and you do the work and you live with a pure heart, you go to heaven. Whatever that looks like, whether you get to go to the DMT portal and go, nice job, Michael, you did a great job. What life would you like to live next? A dragonfly? Cool. And then you get to live a dragonfly. That's what heaven is. Heaven is not this godly kingdom, or it could be, right? It's whatever you want it to be. It's whatever your dreams are, whatever you dream at night when you actually understand it. That is heaven. It's an infinite realm of possibility. That's what heaven is. It's not everyone with white wings and angels. It's whatever you want it to be. And so when you die and you haven't faced these parts of yourself, or you have any bit of darkness within your heart and soul, you live in hell. It doesn't matter if you've sinned. If you repent for your sins and truly repent for your sins and make amends and move forward with the love of God and light in your heart, then you die and go to heaven. That's it. And you get whatever the people's philosophy of, well, there's 9 reincarnation cycles, you can count the circles on your fingers, or there's different dimensionality. Doesn't matter. The reality is that in this 3-dimensional reality, I perceive that this is it, right? There's 3-dimensional reality, and there's lower, and then there's higher. And I think part of this experience of this game that we're in is the 3-dimensional reality. So when we die, we go to the 4th dimensional reality. And if you die and you haven't fixed these things, you will be in hell. And you will be faced with all the mistakes that you've made. And then you will be reincarnated as something lesser. And then you come back, and you have to keep doing that until you get to this point. And I think that we are one of the highest intellectual beings on this planet. And there's this weird fucking thing that exists where in fiction, we always hypothesize aliens as being humanoid or variations of humanoid creatures, or not. And that's where we're starting to actually expand our consciousness out of this like more egoic self. Because the reality is, in this universe, you can trace the fractals across the entire spectrum, and it all is the same, which says every living creature in this reality or this universe is humanoid. That's the highest evolutionary standpoint. Maybe. Because the reality is, like, there's so many different species on this planet, right? And if these species start eating mushrooms and increasing the size of their brain over a period of time, they evolve into the higher consciousness of that planet. And we happen to be the monkeys that did it. Maybe on a different planet, somewhere else in this universe, it's the frogs. And that's why people imagine reptilians. That's why people imagine these different humanoid variations, because that is what life is in this universe. In this universe, because of the fractal setup and the molecular structure and the matrix, everything that will evolve, basically think about every single species on this entire planet. If that species, like Pokemon, ate mushrooms over thousands and thousands of years, what would that species evolve to? That's how it works. But then there's also black holes and gravitron stars, and that leads to alternate universes. And in those universes, like in Rick and Morty, you have, or other shows, you have different molecular structures and compounds and matrices. So we work on this perfect DNA fractal, but in some other galaxy or some other alternate universe, it might be, this is DNA. And that's why the creatures form with like 17 arms and 100 eyes. And it's like, it's so crazy to think about that kind of stuff. Heaven and hell do exist. Because the reality is, the ancestors and the angels above and below, they're watching every single moment, every single mirror, every single eyeball, every single lens that exists in this plane of existence is a mirror for a higher or lower dimensional being to peer through. We're always being watched. And when you die, you're going to be judged. You will. Whether you subscribe to Christianity or whatever, you're going to be judged. And just like the never-ending story, when Atreyu goes through the second gate or the first gate, it doesn't matter how fancy your suit of armor is. It doesn't matter how many toys you die with when you die. It doesn't matter how much wealth or power, how many bitches you fucked. The guardians of the galaxy can see straight through your fucking armor, and they can see straight to your heart, because this is all that matters. And what you do with this in this life, in my opinion, is what matters. And that allows you to get to the point where you die and you're like in heaven and you're like, this is awesome. I'm bored. I've been in this heaven of infinite possibilities for too long. And just like Alan Watts says, if you were literally able to live a dream where you could control the dream and every single aspect of that dream, what would happen eventually? You'd start going, oh, that was an amazing dream. I'm gonna be a purple dragon and live an entire life. All right, I'm gonna reset the dream. I'm gonna do this now. But if you did that over and over and over and over and over and over and over, eventually you're gonna get bored. It gets boring being God. Nobody actually wants to be God. Eventually you're going to go, okay, now I need something that's exciting. I need to like create something in the story that like is unknown. So now I'm going to do a dream where the outcome is unknown because of this one little factor. I'm going to give my main character cancer, or I'm going to give him 3 legs and see what happens. See how that affects the story. Okay, cool. But eventually, if you keep doing that and doing that and doing that and doing that and doing that, you are living the dream that is this life right now. And that's what this is. It's just a story for us to better understand what existence is on a cosmic scale. And now I'm just like doing the whole channeling moment, but yeah, I'll take a pause.
And you're saying no, and
is it okay if I hit my stupid vape pen in here? Is that
yeah? No, go okay. Right ahead. Yeah,
and that's something I'm working on right now. I have Tourette's, and it's very fascinating how this nicotine helps, and I've been addicted to it for 11 years.
Yep.
And right now I'm trying to quit this and smoke cigarettes because it sounds stupid, but that's better. And
I use the nicotine lozenge.
I've tried it, and it's just like I get super nauseous.
Yeah.
But patches or something like that. So the big thing that I'm hoping for is that
I want to be done. I want to stop. I do not want to be owned by nicotine any longer, but it'll come.
Now, I also think there's benefits to practices. So I think there's a benefit to tobacco, like literally smoking the plant. But it's the same with nicotine. It's the same with tobacco as it is with marijuana. THC is good for you, but in a dose. It's like literally like anything, like Terrence McKenna describes, is the best way to do something is to do it and fully do it, and then give yourself enough space to process. So what that looks like to me is I've been developing this medicine practice list where basically the way I look at it is every month or every week or every cycle, I want to do this thing this many times. I want to dance at least 5 times a week. I want to train for at least 5 hours a week. I'm only allowing myself 100 puffs per week. I'm only allowing myself 5 grams of psilocybin per month. I'm only allowing myself 100 milligrams of MDMA per season. I'm only allowing myself 1 DMT journey per year. I'm only allowing myself, I want to get rejected once a month. I want to fail once a week. I want to hurt myself accidentally because I'm trying something that's pushing the envelope so hard. That's how I look at life, is like you set these parameters to your expectations of what you want, and then you just do it. And that's how you hold yourself accountable. And like this shit is terrible. It's addictive as fuck. But I also bank on the work I'm doing. This has gotten me this far. And like right now, I'll do my best. And I pray and I know that as LLMs and AGI continue to advance into AI, which we're very close, there will be a replacement. We will find the cure for everything. Money will be in such an abundance that there's no need to think about money right now. All you got to do is focus on your passion. And like you told me, the world will deliver, because soon enough, if things work out, which they will, in 5 to 10 years, money won't exist. It will not exist. There's such an abundance of resources on this planet. We're just tricked to think that it's not. So once quantum computing breaks the code and goes, okay, you fucking monkeys are a bunch of idiots. There's way plenty resources, but it doesn't feel that way because these people have been tricking you the whole time. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to restructure everything so everybody's got an infinite amount of resources and no one particular person's in power. Then what do? What do? You explore ecstatic experience. You learn how to connect your mind to your body, and then you explore the spirit. And so the spiritual awakening is here. It's happening now. And very soon, all that's going to be left to do is exploring the ecstatic experience. And so people are going to go, what the fuck do I do now? And they're going to look to people like us and other people that are doing this work that go, well, here's what you do. This is how you love yourself first. And then, I don't know, do whatever you want. Go get a 3D printer and build a spaceship and go fly into space and live Star Trek, or build a submarine and explore the deep sea of this earth, or build a drill and like bury yourself, go find Atlantis, or that's what's left, is to explore. And that's what we are. We're explorers, and it's like, that's what's really in our heart. And I think, a lot of the divine feminine is to explore Gaia, is to explore everything that is connected to the elements. And I think the divine masculine is to explore the cosmos. But we all want both. And so it's like moving into a future where that's all happening it's happening. And this is my perspective, but that's my most hopeful analysis of what's to be, and like time is about to dissolve, because the technology that's so close to being able to plug yourself into a computer and slow time down to a standstill, you will be able to have a psychedelic experience that's completely controlled. You will be able to be God. You're going to be able to step into a world that's virtual, that is unidentifiable by this world. And time will then fold in on itself. Because you can plug your brain into a computer and go, I want to process information at this 5,000 billion gigawatts of data per second. Which means that you can download your brain into a computer and plug it in and unplug it in 1 second in this timeline. And you might live 10,000 years in that computer. And then you come back and you're like, what the fuck? And that's how I think time will start to fold in on itself. And the reality is, all that's going to be left is to either suck yourself into that or stay in this reality and live this story to the end. And that's the thing, is we're afraid of death. And we are all going to die. And it's necessary for us to die. So I don't think technology is about, like, that's where the fear is, right? It's like, oh, well, we're going to make sure that humans can live forever. And it's like, that's not what it's about. It's about getting to a higher level of intelligence and realizing that we're about to be able to control time in quantum mechanics. We're going to be able to teleport. We're going to be able to slow time down. We're going to be able to travel at the speed of light. And when that's possible, you're not going to want to download yourself into a computer. You're going to want to just be in this reality. So I'm also fascinated by that, right? Because in my mind, I'm like, well, that's where like vampires and werewolves and all these things, everything you've ever seen in fiction, in a novel or a movie or a story, it's all real. Because very, very, very soon, you'll be able to go, all right, tonight, I'm going to live the life of a 67-year-old vampire hunter in Transylvania, but except for he's not hunting vampires, they're dragons. And also gravity this is the percentage of gravity. Oh, and the sky is actually purple and not blue. Oh, and the sun is green. Okay, these are the parameters for the story. Boom. And then you enter that world and then you come back out. And so in that context, everything that's ever been imagined is about to happen, is about to be accessible. And that's, again, my perspective, but like, what do you think of the logic of that? Because I feel like I've been talking about it.
Oh my gosh, dude. It is so interesting to watch how your emotions and your brain work together to explore the voice that you're letting out. And
Thank you.
It's fucking beautiful that your throat is open and that that freaking power source, that chakra power source is flowing. And the question is, what happens when your dad doesn't respond the way you think he will? And then you go the next step, and then he still doesn't respond the way you think he will.
Yeah,
and then he dies alone. What then?
And that's the reality, right? Is like, I have accepted that. I have with that message yesterday, I have accepted the fact that my dad is now dead to me. That's it. My dad is already dead to me. And not in a literal sense, but in the metaphorical sense of, until he chooses to come back to this reality, he's dead.
So it sounds like you're saying that your dad is in a different reality than you, but that doesn't mean dead.
What I mean is like...
Dead means... dead is the gate that you can't come back from.
What I mean is I've basically been grieving my father my entire adult life. And that is why that's what the grief is, right? It's like, Steve was doing work on me and she's like, damn, you got some grief up in here.
So it's not about the way you feel toward him, but the grief you feel inside about
correct.
him.
It's about the fact that a true leader of love, a true warrior of love, a true knight of justice does what is the best possible thing you can do. And at a certain point, you can't fix someone else. You can't tell them what to do. That's violence. I can sleep at night knowing that I've done everything in my capacity to this point. And my plan still is to wait months or maybe even years. And if I don't hear back, by then I'll be so successful that I'll be like, I'm going to fly you out here and I'm going to pull you in and you're going to literally just witness me. And you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm a fucking idiot.
I love your fantasy.
And he's going to go, Rye, I'm so sorry. Teach me. And I'm going to go, Dad, I will. And I love you and I forgive you. Step into the light with me. And that's it. And that's what will happen. You just have to make a decision on what your reality is. And you have to believe it like a fucking crazy person. And I've been talking to myself more and more out loud. And it's powerful. And society tells you not to. But that is the spells that we cast into this world.
But when you do that for yourself, you are a magician. You
exactly.
enter the world that is the world you're describing as the future world. But when you do that for somebody else, you're an insane, crazy person that needs to go to jail.
Exactly. And so for me, it's like my reality isn't about, he needs to do this. It's about I see him and I feel that I have led with love and I've done this. I've taken the steps to do my best. And at this point, it's up to him. And so I've finally been able to let go of the grief of my father because it's felt like my father's been dead for so long. Because it's felt worse than death. In fact, I'll be honest, I've had fantasies of murdering my father. I've a number of times said, I wish my dad was dead because at least then I could have his wealth and then I could use his money to build E3 and to build these communities where more people can heal. But that's not good thinking. And that's what I've also finally let go of.
But that's that angry little boy who never got to let his voice out, that you're releasing the voice. And so
correct.
The anger is in there and it has to come out. But the only thing I would say, like I said before, is just be conscious that it's not all love. Anger is in there too.
And anger is divine, in a sense.
I'm just saying, it's so easy as we see ourselves becoming love to just say, I'm becoming love, and so everything I do is love, but it is not. When we call the things as they are, we're no longer gaslighting ourselves, and then we're free to become whoever we want to be.
Yeah, and that's why I love the way you challenge me. And have challenged me because it's like, it's the immediate shift in perspective because I'm a quick learner.
Because everything that I hear you saying is the thing that angry little boy needs to say. Yeah. None of it's for your dad. Yeah. And he can't understand it because he's in a different perspective. And honestly, he probably would have similar things to say about you. Like that's the way it works.
God, who knows?
But no one is the villain in their own story. Just like it just isn't.
Yeah, you're right.
So everything you have to say is for you.
Yeah.
And the thing you're doing is you are giving that little boy finally being the parent that that little boy needed and saying, you're welcome here, speak up.
And it's literally what I've recognized in the session earlier with Stevie was like, my left side is the hurt child and my right side is the man I am becoming. And this is the Father and this is the Son and the Holy Spirit.
But it's all you.
Is right here. Yeah.
It's all just you in this wonderful fantasy story.
Yep.
Learning that you get to be whoever you want.
Which is why it sometimes feels like,
how could you not want to bring everybody along? Yeah. It's like, this is heaven and hell is right now.
Yeah.
Why live in hell?
And unfortunately, part of the story
gaslight yourself.
Sometimes part of the story is necessary, right? Like it's
it's all necessary.
I am grateful I was molested. I am grateful I was raped. I'm grateful I was beat up. I'm grateful I was bullied. I'm grateful I have struggled because it's made me strong. And that's the reality is you have to embrace everything that's ever happened in your life. And if you're not grateful for every moment you've been alive for,
then you don't see yourself the way you really are.
Yeah.
Just see yourself.
Yeah.
You're beautiful just the way you are with all of the baggage and the brokenness and the shameful things that need to be hidden.
Yeah.
It's actually beautiful.
Yeah. And that's where the vulnerability stuff comes into tie, right? Is like the more you speak of this stuff, just so openly, it's potent for other people. And sometimes it hits people the wrong way. But that's why I speak about it all the time. It's because it's like, people see that and they're like, wow, he's really happy and successful, and people look up to him, and he's sharing this kind of stuff.
Yep.
Maybe I should share more of that kind of stuff with myself and others.
Your job is to be the person that you are, not to worry about other people's feelings.
Which is to be disliked by generally half and to be liked by generally half. And like, the reality is you can't be liked by everyone. And in your reality, in your timeline, if you do that right, then eventually all of it will be absorbed into higher energy. And whether my dad chooses to look in the mirror or not, or to fix things or to mend things with us, is up to him. And if he dies, that's just part of my story. And if he dies without us ever connecting, that's part of my story. And I pray every day that all of us return to love. And I think that's where this is power. This is the thing.
But the damage that he does is only to himself.
Mm-hmm.
Only you can damage you, because that's the only way that you can be the one that is a master and commander of your own world fully. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it's like, oh, well, he screamed at me and he spanked me really hard. It's like, that's for me. That is my story. That's what's made me stronger.
And trauma with childhood trauma is so, like, it's painful to think about. It's painful to see. But the truth is that that's not what's happening now.
No.
Any hurt about that is a story that's continuing to be told. And as I drop those stories, the pain it's just not there anymore. It's like, oh, I understand why he would do that.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But I have to see myself first before I can understand another who actually isn't another. It's just me in another form, doing the only thing that they could possibly do given their situation, what they had to deal with, the lies they've told themselves their whole life. Guess what? That's what I did.
Yeah.
We all do it.
So what's your father been saying to your inner son or child? What's your
place.
Big moment?
What do you mean? What's my big moment?
Well, you said very recently you've come to this realization, and I guess I'm more curious. Would you mind sharing a little bit about what your big realization?
Okay, so my brain is immediately going to my session with Stevie.
Yeah,
I've been trying to find my energy for a long time, and slowly but surely, I'm just feeling different things. I can feel the flow. I can now start working with chakras, and it's so imaginary. It's like, am I imagining this? It's like, who cares?
Yeah,
because it's something that's actually there. Yeah. So I don't care if it actually looks like what I think it looks like. I just want to find what is there. My head chakras are just like beacon of fire. Yeah. My heart is just like a warm, open gate that it's always open. It just wants to be open. My solar plexus, my throat.
Yeah.
Those two have just been trouble. It feels blocked, and it feels blocked. Well, in my session with
shame, anger is the opposite of those two.
Closing your throat because you think that you're going to hurt the people around you, or you think you're dumb, or whatever the story is. But yes, shame and anger. Exactly. But the anger's there because there's something that needs to be said. Yeah. And it's been needed to be said my whole damn life.
So what's been needing to be said your whole damn life?
I've always been such a good person. Just trying to make the experiences of the people around me beautiful and trying to be the best person that I can be. And I've always been thrown out.
Have you always been a good person?
Always.
Always.
That's the story.
Mm-hmm. Is that true?
A nice guy believes they're good, but they're really hard to be around because they're so repressed and angry, and they hide everything because they're ashamed of themselves. That's who I actually was.
Yeah.
But it has been such a long process of letting that out. And the experience with Stevie was it's like I visualized a cold, dark planet out in space. That was my solar plexus. And it's been so hard for me to touch because there's so much shame around my anger.
Yeah.
But years ago, I stood in front of the mirror and realized that I have to let that anger in. That anger is part of me. It belongs. That's a little child that I am continuing to throw outside in the blizzard rather than let him come inside and sit on the rug by the fire and hang out with the family. And so I'm just like, this doesn't even make sense to me, but because I think you messed my life up, but you're welcome here because you're me. I can't fight you. I can't get rid of you. And as soon as you surrender to something, as soon as you let it in by the fire, that wild animal just doesn't want to be a wild animal. It just doesn't want to die.
Yeah.
It's all fear is fear of death. fear of loss, separation.
Fear of Yep.
And so it's just been an incredibly long process learning how to let him in.
Or
the
this is
little
blocked, fear of being
boy.
wrong.
It's always been blocked. Always been blocked.
Yeah.
And that all goes together. But I want a family. I want a home where no matter what my mood is, no matter how bad of a day I'm having, I belong. I'm wanted. I'm loved. And so the only way that I can find that home is by making that home for myself, inside myself. Yeah. And it turns out that when I do that, I then make that home for other people who also make that home for me. Yep. And it just becomes this reciprocating avalanche
and then
of
people just start gravitating towards you, even
joy,
like this moment right now.
Openness, acceptance, love. There just is no... You say the messy thing, I don't care. You're a human. I understand what it means to be a human.
Yeah.
And anything that you do to hurt is done out of defense. Any defense feels like a knife blade from the person that you're defending against. Yeah. That's what a war is. It is just two people defending themselves against each other. And there's no villain in their own story. So I don't know. Is it that broad brush? Is it that easy? The more I walk into this, the more I realize that it is. And that's how you find heaven. Yeah. Because when you are fully accepted and you are fully loved inside of your own heart, inside of your own throat, your mind, your understanding, if every single part of you understands all your quirks and understands that everybody else is just as insecure and is just as afraid, everybody else looks at themselves in the mirror sideways and just we're just all the same person having this unique experience and this unique experience and this unique experience, and then all of a sudden there is not me, I, and other. So there is no fight. Because it makes sense why you're so angry. I know your words, even if you're angry at me, when I am at home with myself, I just already understand that you're not actually angry with me. Yeah. You're angry because of the things you're repressing that you won't let out because you're afraid that they're bad and you're afraid you're bad.
Yep.
And so then you just let it out. And the thing that is beautiful, the thing that heals, the thing that heals the timeline is to let that voice out. Because for generations, that voice has never been let out because it's ugly. Because it hurts things. It breaks the china. Yeah. That's why we can't have nice stuff. And
not anymore.
That's why you came to this earth, is to heal your trauma. And that's what you're doing.
Yeah. And I think like one of the biggest, the lessons of this three-dimensional reality is to understand what love is. I have this theory of like, the forces of the universe is love and time. That's the two forces. So gravity is like this representation of love, and time is just the map of which gravity moves through. And I think time is resonant with death, and love is resonant with light or life. And it's basically, that's it. It's just these two opposing forces.
I think that when you take a microscope and you zoom in farther than we can, and you keep zooming in until all you can see is the energy.
Yep. It looks exactly like it looks like when you look up the stars.
The little polarized energies that are not anything. They do not have substance, and they're just dancing with each other in a perfect harmony. And as one joins, the whole structure changes, and as another, it's just the energy that binds it together. The indefinable thing that cannot be seen, that is what holds nothing into a physical three-dimensional structure. That is love.
Yes.
We are love. Yes. God is love.
Yes.
All those words actually mean something that you can't understand if you're trying to look at it through the interpretation of the whatever.
You have to look at it from a higher dimensional perspective.
You just have to find it. You have to look. You have to say, what are the voices inside myself that want to be heard? What are the things that I think are evil that really are just little kids that want to be held, that are afraid they're evil because somebody told them they were evil? Yeah. It's all of just a family in there. And when we let everyone in by the fire, all of a sudden things start to make sense. And you realize that, oh yeah, I too am love.
Yeah, Michael. And what you have here, your family is love, and like having that moment with Stevie and then walking out and just like coming into your kitchen and eating food and then like playing with the kiddos. It was just like, I took a piss and I was like, I am so grateful for this family and this life and this love that I'm experiencing right now. And I said it out loud. It was just like, you know, and dude, first of all, I got to pee and I'm really hungry.
I actually need to pee too. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So, Ryan, I cannot tell you how refreshing it is to be able to soak in the honest, raw, not pretty, not ugly,
nope.
not anything, not a thing.
I don't want to look
just
at a picture of me
the
dead.
raw
but
beauty of you being honestly you, no longer gaslighting yourself. It is just the most beautiful thing I can imagine. So thank you for just exposing yourself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And
You're welcome.
real quick, where can people find you? Your business, your socials, like how do you?
Yeah. So, I mean, give me a call. My phone number is 541-968-9282. Text me, call me. My email is ryanuhle@gmail.com. You can go to my website, multidimensionaltraining.org. I live in downtown Springfield, Oregon. My business is located at 500 Main Street, Suite A, Springfield, Oregon, 97477. I don't know my house address because I'm moving into a new house in like a week. But the reality is I'm always here for you. And one of the things that I'm doing with my life is I'm growing my MDT to a fully functional facility with every modality under the sun for movement, mind, and spirit practices. And that will fuel through resources because money's not infinite yet. So in 3 years, I'm already growing E3, which is the 501(c) nonprofit identity, which E3 stands for Explore, Ecstatic, Experience. And if you take E and you take 3 and you stick them together, just look at it. Tell me that doesn't look familiar to you. So it's obviously in my timeline, it's it. And the reality of that is a place where people can gather. It's a movement. It's not one space. E3 in my brain is basically like replacing churches, but without religion, without patriarchy, without violence. We need an organized community place for people to go that is rooted with love. It's held accountable through love and it inspires love.
More on that later because there are a lot of projects like this that are starting to spring up and they're all going to become something that's crazy. Yeah. But for now.
Oh, and then social medias are also cool too because I do post some fun stuff for inspiration and stuff. So Instagram handle is RYAN_UHLE. You can find me on Facebook, Ryan Uhle, RYANUHLE.
This guy is an incredible fire dancer. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm doing some crazy stuff right now. I just built with my 3D printer a literal 4-foot long tail that articulates and moves. And I'm making this whole green reptilian costume to represent who I am. And I'm going to crawl out on stage and I'm going to do some of the craziest flow art shit you've ever seen. I just bought myself some fire juggling knives. And like, that's it. It's like, I just want to like be a weirdo and inspire people and be like, look, you can be this end of the spectrum and that end of the spectrum and everything in the middle.
Well, Rye, you're a graceful weirdo.
Thank you.
Thanks for starting a incredible conversation with me.
Bless you, Michael. Thank you so much for having me. And this is incredible. I look forward to more of this in the future.
You know it's going to happen.
Oh, if I may add one more thing.
You may add.
I discovered something this morning. And this is a universal secret that some people might already know. But so I woke up this morning and I just channeled this. I sat straight up in bed and I crossed my legs like this, right? But then I was like, no, it's not tight enough. So I did the more yogic position where you tuck them in, right? And I sat on my bed and I looked at the sun as it rose. And I started to snake my body left and right and forward and backward. And then I started to do these circular motions clockwise and then counterclockwise. And the reality is that we need to unlock our cerebral spinal fluid so that we can experience divine spirit. And when I did that, Michael, I closed my eyes and I started like looking up and crossing my eyes. And I started like rapidly moving my eyes like you do in REM. And when I looked directly at the sun, I shit you not, you can try this with a bright light, but especially the sun. Look up, cross your eyes with your eyes closed and think about moving your eyes up and down or left and right or all over the place. It feels hard because our eye muscles are weak. And that's what MDT is about. It's not about training just your physical body. It's everything in your physical body, your ocular system, your vestibular system, your sense of like all your senses are to be trained with MDT. It's not just exercise. It's about training the human physiology of the 5 or 6 senses. And so what happened was when I did this, I could see the blood vessels behind my closed eyelids. I shit you not. It looked like the synapses in our brain or like the galaxies that exist. And I, for the first time in my life, did that. And I was just like, this needs to be shared. So if you want to try something that brings you closer to this higher sense, try this. It will blow your fucking mind. And if you do the snaky stuff, it helps get the cerebral spinal fluid flowing so that you can access your DMT through your pineal gland. And it, without even doing the breath work, without all these, there's so many fancy ways that you can activate your DMT, but this was just one simple way to see something magical. And that's what it's about. It's just creating magic. So
magic.
Share that last little part.
You're welcome.
I love you. Green it.
Oh my god.
Heart to heart.
Oh my gosh, dude. The world fucking needs
Us. It needs this.